This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below. Hey, what's up? And this is the post-game Q&A. So let's just jump into the questions. First question is from Chamrod, who says, hey Q, can you potentially go through 11 more games like this? My damn health took a hit today. You would like not to, right? And there's a number of reasons that you feel like you're not gonna have to, but it's survive in advance when your starting quarterback's not out there, to be honest with you. It is a lot of just doing what you can to maintain a win offensively. And when the defense doesn't have its best game, you see what happens. The good things that we could take away from that game offensively is that I believe they turned the ball over 2 times, but one of those times was a real advantageous turnover. I think it was an arm punt basically. So I think one real turnover when it comes to the true effect on the game that you had. And I think that one turnover wasn't even in plus territory. You had 4 turnovers. Well, never mind. PJ threw an interception. I think Deshaun threw one. But either way, I don't think either of those turnovers ended up costing you that many points. So that is one positive. Offensively, I think that Elijah Moore had a good game. That's another positive that you could take away from this. They know they need to have a better effort than what they gave against the Colts, and they're lucky to have won on the road. And look, we need to understand where this team is at, because they had a bad game on the road against a decent team, still won. It's not nothing, right? Did the Colts play their best game? I would argue that offensively, they played pretty close to their best game. They gave you a pretty damn good shot offensively. Defensively, they broke down at the end. They got a lot of penalties at the end. And I know Colts fans are never going to accept that those 2 flags are legit, but they were. It was defensive holding on Amari Cooper. It happened before the ball got flung out his hands. It is what it is, man. You can't hold on that in that situation. You got to be able to cover him straight up, because you never know what the defensive line's going to do. It's a bad move by that corner, and then that corner on that play there to, I believe it was Donovan Peoples-Jones. There is no reason to play that technique like that near the boundary when you have the sideline there to run somebody out. Why even take the risk of putting your hands on somebody? These are all things I would be critical of the Browns defense of if they got these penalties committed. So I know it's popular to blame the refs whenever a close game goes one way or the other, but the fact that it was up to the referees is a failure of execution to begin with. I mean, the Colts were going up against the Browns' third string quarterback. The Browns turned this ball over multiple times at the end of the game, and yet the Colts still had it come down to that. So, hey, man, you gotta execute. And you can't just blame it on one thing that didn't go your way in the game and act like other things couldn't have. So, the Browns found a way to win that game. And this is a team that's found a way to win games against good teams. Cincinnati, San Francisco, and now a decent Colts team. So I think that those are all good signs. But yeah, they got to find a way to get consistency from the offense. And I think that starts at the quarterback position. It either starts with Watson being healthy, whatever that situation is. I hope it gets figured out soon. Honestly, I just want consistency. If he's out for 2 weeks, he's out for 2 weeks. That's fine. As long as we know he's out for 2 weeks. If he's out for 3 weeks, that's fine. Same thing for 4. I just don't want this thing to be lingering day to day, week to week again. Just let us know who's playing. Let us know if he's playing. If he's not playing, he's not. If you're going to play it safe, play it fully safe and let him wait out the whole window. And if you're not going to play it safe, then play him, right? But make a decision. Right now, we're living this halfway life of him, where we're kind of playing it safe, but we also want him to play as soon as possible, and it's just driving everybody crazy. Just pick a lane, right? Either you want him to play or you don't want him to play. Either you're playing it safe or you're not playing it safe. Either you're letting him go whenever he feels like he can go, or you're not letting him go until you feel like everything's healed 100% or close to 100% or as close as it's going to get to 100%. And if you felt like it was at that point and one hit undid it, then you need to recalculate your math on that. So that's really just what this offense needs. They need consistency. They need to know who the quarterback's going to be from on the weekend basis for at least a little while here, right? So whatever they do, be definitive about it and stick with it. Don't go here and say we're going to play PJ for 2 weeks and then we're going to trade for somebody and play them for 2 weeks and then we might throw DTR in for 1 week. Like, go with PJ, go with DTR, trade for somebody, play him. Or Deshaun's playing, right? But it needs to be consistent. The inconsistency at who's playing quarterback is killing this team offensively. It's killing, because like, I know you can say, hey, the quarterbacks aren't good, this and that, but at some point consistency matters, right? And I think these quarterbacks aren't as bad as they are being made out to look. I've seen PJ Walker have great games in the NFL. I've seen Deshaun Watson obviously have great seasons in the NFL. You know, we all felt good about the work that DTR was doing in the preseason and in camp. So if you felt that way about them, you know that you can get more out of them than what you're currently getting. And the reason you're not getting more out of them than what you're currently getting, or the most out of them, is the inconsistency. And we're having these weird game plans, these weird game approaches, and it's just driving everybody crazy. Just make a decision on what you're going to do with him, this week. If he's playing, he's playing. If he's not, he's not, but you gotta just, for like 2 or 3 weeks, this team really just has to know who's going to be playing quarterback, man. Like, it's really not helping the offense develop at all. Grumpy Guy says the defense gave up the most yards and points, but yet took the ball away 4 times. So was this the defense's best game or worse? So you're not always going to play the shutdown style game. If you're a defense, you're going to have to be able to play well in different ways. And this was a game where, a lot of the inner tissue, right? The accessories, the crime that I talked about, those guys weren't having good games. So in that case, your superstars have to make plays. There are 2 ways a defense can play bad. Well, there are 2 ways a defense can play. They could be the kind of defense that gives up big plays but makes big plays, and you can live with that. That's what they were on Sunday. They were a defense that gave up big plays, but they also made some big plays. They gave up some touchdowns, but they also got some turnovers and made the plays. It was a individual effort heavy performance. It was a Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward heavy performance. Hopefully Denzel Ward is okay. He gets out of concussion protocol and he doesn't have another major concussion. I hope so. But yeah, that's really what this was about. The unit wasn't playing well, so you had to get some individual performances, and you're not going to play great team defense because 1 or 2 players are playing well. But what you can do is make plays, and that's what they did. So, if you're going to have a bad game, it's great that you have guys who could step up and be playmakers like that. I talked about the analogy of the fact that Myles didn't have the greatest game in the world against the 49ers, even though he played very well. It was like the Warriors, or it was like LeBron, or a team with LeBron on it, beating somebody, and LeBron had like 25 points. Like, he didn't really go off. Kyrie went off, Kevin Love went off, everything else, right? The pieces around LeBron went off. This week was a week where, hey, nobody scored around LeBron, and LeBron had to go off for 45. You know what I mean? And you won that game because LeBron went off for 45. Different ways of winning, but still winning. And that's a winning effort there. And that's why you pay Myles Garrett the big bucks, because he is capable of that when everything else fails. John Luttrell says, Well, I'm about to have a heart attack again. Through 5 games, the Browns have won big and shown that they can win ugly games. How much do you think these gritty wins will pay dividends down the road as the team makes a playoff push later in the season? Also, do you have a number of good cardiologists asking for a friend? Well, you said have a heart attack again. So I hope you do have a good cardiologist. But when it comes to these wins paying dividend, one, yes, I think this win, it's an AFC win. It's a big deal. And it helps you with the tiebreakers. So getting the 4-2, getting an AFC win, that is a big deal. I think winning those 2 games are also a big deal because instead of being 2-4, you're 4-2. Here's the difference from 2-4 and 4-2. 2-4, you got to figure it out this week or else the season's over. Right? You're real close to 6-7 losses. You got like a week or 2 to figure things out or the season's pretty much done. Right? That is the level of patience that you can have. That is the time that you have to figure something out. When you're 4-2, you got a real long time. Right? You can win one here, lose one there, win one here, lose one there, still kind of relatively stay in the playoff run, still be in playoff position, and you'll be all right. 4-2 gives you a lot of room for error. 2-4, do or die. So huge. I mean, huge. The difference between 3-3 and 4-2, massive, right? Because 3-3, do or die. Like you close to do or die every week when you're 3-3. When you're 2-4, do or die every week. And then when you're 4-2, you can drop a game. It's gonna be okay. You can win one next week. You can drop one here. You pick one up there. You can lose 2 here, win 2 there. You still be fine. Gives you so much more room for error. So for a team like the Cleveland Browns that is struggling offensively to find consistency, that is massive because that 4-2 record gives you time to figure that shit out. I hope that was a good explanation there for you. Billy Moss says, any theories on why everybody is acting like Deshaun Watson's injury is such a crazy concept? Do players not get injured anymore? Why would the team be required to tell fans exactly what's happening with every player's injury? I think there's frustration in general, just like with how the Browns handle things and how the messaging doesn't seem like it's on point with everything and the mysterious nature of it. I think that there is like a legitimate grievance here. And it's like we're seeing weird stuff, like the normal rules that we're taught of, okay, this is an injury, this is how it gets handled. Those aren't necessarily being followed in this case because it's like, okay, Watson gets hurt. They pull him out the game, but he still has his helmet. And, you know, most people's understanding is if he has his helmet, he can play, or at least he can go out there. But, you know, he didn't go back out there. So it's like, what's going on? That's a weird thing, right? Or, you know, you have Stefanski saying that he's cleared when he's not. Now, time has cleared up some of those misconceptions or some of those miscommunication moments, you know, the whole MRI thing that really helped clear things up there. And I think that, you know, they'll clear everything out on Monday. I think Kevin didn't do the greatest job of communicating what he was trying to say in his press conference. But yeah, I think it's more about one, how the messaging has been handled. 2, people's anxiety about Deshaun Watson in general. There's a lot of weird energy around it. There are some people who are dead set on making sure that this is a failure. There are some people who just don't feel good about this anymore. There are some people who don't want him to succeed. There are some people who really do want him to succeed. And it's just creating this weird environment where we're all arguing about whether he's good or not without watching him play not very much football. And I think a lot of us sane folks who just want the team to be good are frustrated because we just want like 8 solid weeks to watch Deshaun Watson without any major asterisks, right? There's always going to be something that's affecting his play. Oh, he had a bad O-line. Oh, he was playing through some kind of minor injury or something like that. But we just want 8 asterisk-free weeks, right? The first 6 weeks he played, I mean, he came off a 700-day layoff. Like, it's a major asterisk thrown on that. So you can't really determine stuff on that. He played like what? one game that had an asterisk because like the weather was crazy, like historically crazy against Cincinnati. Even then he was all right in that game. The Pittsburgh game was bad, so you count that as one. The Tennessee game was good, you count that as two. We got 2 games without major asterisks in like 2 years with Deshaun Watson. And we just like want to sit and get like a bunch of games in front of us to make the determination on how good he's going to be, where the ceiling is with him. And if that ceiling is there, what do they need to do going forward if they need to upgrade the position or if they don't need to upgrade the position? We're just trying to figure out where we are sitting with Deshaun Watson. And instead, we're having hypothetical arguments with people about whether he's good or not. And we have nothing to base any of these arguments about. And I think that's what's driving everybody crazy. Is there just hasn't been enough evidence. If you're telling me Deshaun Watson's cooked, he's terrible, you're telling me that based off very little evidence. So it's not something that I could take to heart and plan off of, right? It's not that I don't want to believe it or that I don't think it's true. Like, I don't know what is happening with him or what is going to be the truth with him because we just haven't seen enough. So even if you're saying like, oh, he's cooked, well, there's not enough evidence for that. On the contrary, if you're telling me, nah, he's going to go back to 2020, we have no evidence of that either. We don't know where he's going. And I think that is the heart of the craziness around the Deshaun Watson conversation is that nobody knows where this thing is going. We don't know where this train is going. Is it going to a good place? Is it going to a bad place? And the truth is, we're not going to know for a little while here, right? Because even if he comes back and gets on a stretch of 8 games here after this game, that's still 2 months away. We just got to see what happens this season. And that's not a comfortable place for anybody to be. Nobody wants to hear that answer. I'm pretty sure somebody just clicked off the video or rolled their eyes and groaned because I said, hey, we just got to wait for the season to happen because people want to make their determinations now. But there just hasn't been enough games to make any determination on this. And that's what's frustrating. It's what's frustrating me about this whole situation. It's what's frustrating most of you about this situation is that we can't even make an evaluation of him that we feel like is fair to figure out where they need to go because of all of this other stuff. And it doesn't help that the way that this is being handled has been massively confusing. Every week we think he could play, he doesn't play, or he does play, or he does play and he gets hurt and he doesn't play again. It's always something weird. It's never just, you know, we after that Tennessee game, a lot of us thought finally we're going to get off on the right foot and we're going to see what happens with this whole Deshaun Watson era. We're finally no more excuses. And then bam, this gets thrown on us. And it was unexpected. I think it would be different if he like hurt his knee or something in the game and we all saw it. But the fact that this was an injury that had a delayed reaction, you know, it also doesn't make it easier for us to be empathetic because we didn't see when it happened. We didn't know it was an injury when it happened. So it's hard for people to be empathetic because they don't know specifically, like they weren't aware of it when it happened. And, you know, it's just a weird, messy, sloppy place that they're in right now. Next question comes from SD, who says, hey, Q, was today's performance just a bad game, or will teams be able to replicate the coach's success by imitating the game plan? I don't think so. There's one Shane Steichen. There is one Jonathan Taylor. I think this was a team that's uniquely equipped, and I think there are teams that will be uniquely equipped and be able to take advantage of the Browns. I think that Todd Monken, what he does there in Baltimore, that's going to be something that's going to give this Browns defense problems. And Shane Steichen in Indy, I think those two are going to give us problems, but I think they look like a drastically different team when they don't play those guys. So I think it was just a bad game, to be honest with you. I think they'll be right back next week. Browns says, what went wrong with the secondary? Why did they all give up all these big plays? Had a bad game, man. Had a bad game. Sometimes corners just play bad. They don't tackle well. They don't cover well for whatever reason. Guys get the better of them. And they just had a bad game. You know, I don't think it's any more complicated than that. I would love it to be more complicated than that because there's a better, like, you feel better about how you can fix the solution. But I just think they had a bad game. Jose Ramirez says, do you think the Browns will explore backup options at QB, or do you think they will ride it out with PJ Walker and hope Watson gets better / plays better? I think that all determines on what they get back from this MRI. Straight up. If they get a good answer from this MRI that he didn't get hurt and that he's fine and that he probably will be good to go for the rest of the week, then they're not going to do anything. If they get a bad answer from this, then they're going to probably make a move here. A dude called Parker says, what do you think do at quarterback? Like, do we get how do we fix what's going on? I don't think trading for a guy's the answer. Got no resources either. But it seems like a genuine mess. Also almost cost us a game today. I mean, hope it gets better soon. Yeah, I mean, I think you just got to make at some point, you just got to go for consistency at the position, because the guessing game that everybody on the offense is playing on who's going to play quarterback is killing them. Truly. I think that's really the big thing. Jacob Blaze says, trade deadline is coming up. Do you think the Browns, the reports that the Browns are calling around are accurate? If so, who do you think they'll try to get before the trade deadline passes? Look, AB is never one to stand pat. So I think he's going to look at some offensive linemen, not necessarily guys, but like guys like Ezra Cleveland or something like that. He might try to bring in somebody along those lines, not like a Garrett Bowles or somebody. Like maybe he can get lucky and get a Colton Miller, because like Las Vegas is incompetent. But yeah, I think it'll be something along those lines, maybe an offensive lineman. If you can swing Jacoby on a cheap price, then maybe they do that, because that's the ultimate guy you want as your backup. He knows the system. You could switch to him if you like. Let's say they feel like Deshaun's going to be out 6 weeks. Then you go and try to get Jacoby Brissett, because you know that you could put an offense around him, and then you can get rid of PJ or put PJ back on the practice squad, whatever you have to do with him. And then let DTR be the backup, because they kind of Jacoby and DTR play a more similar style of offense. Now that's going to be rough once Watson comes back, because then you're doing a whole nother transition. But for that period of time, it'll stabilize the offense. And right now we just got to worry about what's coming, So I think that would be the solutions or the trade options, depending on what could pop up, what doesn't. Have no idea what this Watson thing is going to be. We'll have a better idea probably by Wednesday. But that's it. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Y'all have a great day. Have even better.